Hi guys, welcome back. Happy Thursday. Today we're going to be doing a math lesson and we are going to be building on from what we did on Tuesday. So not yesterday, but the day before. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off by looking back at our IJ. If you have that, go ahead and take it out so we can look back together. And we're going to look right at the top, it says time. We're going to look back at our time notes from Tuesday. Okay, so we talked about the two different types of clocks, the digital clock and the analog clock, and that this was the one that we were going to be focusing on quite a bit, okay? And we also talked about how on that clock there's a shorthand and there's a longhand. And the only one that we focused on yesterday was the shorthand. So we know that the shorthand tells us the hour, okay? And there's still this longhand that tells us how many minutes past the hour. We're not quite there yet. Today we're going to go a little bit more in depth about this shorthand and how it helps us tell the time. So, I came up with this little mini anchor chart to show you, and you don't have to make this in your IJ. I was going to have you guys write all this down, but it's kind of a lot of writing, so I'm just going to show you. But listen very, very carefully because this is going to be important. So you should know that 1 hour is 60 minutes long. So 60 minutes make up 1 hour. And if you do the math on that, that means that half an hour is 30 minutes. A whole hour is 60, half an hour is 30 minutes. Now, we already know that when the shorthand points to a number, like this is pointing to a 5, that tells us the hour. So if this is pointing to a 5, that means it's 5 o'clock. But what we also need to know is that when we have something like this, where the shorthand is halfway in between two numbers, that's really special too. So when the shorthand is in the middle of two numbers, like this is right in the middle of 6 and 5, that means it is half past or 30 minutes past the smaller number. So if these are in between, this is in between 5 and 6, we're going to look at the smaller number, 5, and it's going to be half past 5, or 5:30. Okay, so keep that in mind because that's going to help us quite a bit today. All right, and I'm going to show you kind of an example. I made myself a little clock here with my whiteboard. You guys can do this too, by the way. You guys can take out this blank paper that you got in here, draw your own little clock on it if you want to, and do this with me. You don't have to though, you could just watch. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a marker. So if I am drawing my shorthand and I draw it where it's pointing like this, what number is that pointing to? Pointing to the number 9. Sorry, you can kind of see the reflection of my computer in there. That's okay. It's pointing right to the 9, which means it's what time? 9 o'clock. But if I take that same arrow and I move it in between the 8 and the 9, so it looks like this, where it's right in between the 8 and the 9. It won't always be that long, but just so you guys can see that it's right in between the 8 and the 9. Well, now I'm going to take my smaller number, 8, and then I'm going to add half past 8, or I'm going to say 8:30. So this would be 8:30, but if it pointed right at the 9, it would be 9 o'clock. So if I wanted to say, you know, I want to eat my lunch today at 11:30, which is when we usually eat our lunch at school, I would draw it right in between the 11 and the 12. 11's my smaller number. It's right in between, so it's half past 11 or 11:30. Okay, go ahead and grab your green Go Math books, and we are going to be focusing on page 171 today. So it looks just like this, page 171. Okay, while you are grabbing page 171, I am going to do my best to set this up underneath my camera so you guys can see it. So this is going to be really, really similar, almost exactly the same as last time. I'm going to turn up my brightness a little bit. Pause me if you need to go grab your Go Math book. There we go. It's going to be almost the same as last time. We're only looking at the shorthand today. We're not even touching the longhand yet. We're only looking at the shorthand. We're looking at where is the shorthand, and we're telling the time. Okay, so for example, number 1, if we look very, very carefully, I'm going to zoom way in. If you look very, very carefully, it looks like that shorthand is right in between what 2 numbers? To me, it looks like 10 and 11. So if that little arrow is right between 10 and 11, which one's smaller, 10 or 11? 10 is smaller. And since it's right in the middle, I'm going to write 10:30. Just like that. Okay, 30 minutes past the smaller number, or some people say half past because it's half an hour past. Okay, moving on to number 2. Here's number 2. Now all of these, I think all of these, are any of them going to be pointing right at the number? No, they're all going to be in the middle, so they're all going to be something 30 today. So number 2 is right in between, looks like 3 and 4. My smaller number is 3. So that means it's half past 3 or 3:30. Okay, let's take a look at our next one. Number 3. Try to find number 3 here. Okay, number 3, it looks like it's right in between what 2 numbers? Looks like it's right in between, gosh, this does not want to stay. There we go. It's right in between the 1 and the 2. My smaller number is 1, and it's half past 1 or 1:30. Don't forget your 2 little dots in the middle. That's how we know that we're telling time. 1:30. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with number 4 down here. This way. Here we go. We're right in between the 4 and the 5, which means it's half past the smaller number. So it's half past 4 o'clock, or it is 4:30. Okay, and looking back at what we've written, I'm sure you could figure out 5 and 6. Okay, I did 1, 2, 3, and 4 with you. I want you guys to do numbers 5 and 6 on your own. Okay, we will, however, take a look at number 7 and 11. Okay. All right, my goodness, this does not want to work for me today. There we go. Okay, well, I've been doing this for so many weeks. We'll eventually figure it out. Okay, number 7 says that Greg rides his bike at half past 4 o'clock. Okay, so half past 4 o'clock. He eats dinner at half past 6 o'clock. He reads a book at half past 8 o'clock. Look at the clock and write what Greg does. Okay, so that means we're going to look at our clock, see what time it is, and see which of these activities he must be doing. Is he riding his bike because it's half past 4? Is he eating dinner because it's half past 6? Or is he reading a book because it's half past 8? Well, if we look at our clock, I'm seeing that it is right in between what 2 numbers? 6 and 7. So we're going to take the smaller number 6, and it's half past 6, so 6:30. Now, what was Greg doing at half past 6? Was he riding his bike, eating dinner, or reading a book? Our directions say that he was eating his dinner. So if I look down here, I'm going to write Greg is eating dinner. You're going to have to write kind of small. Greg is eating dinner. Okay, so pretty simple, as long as you understand that when we have the shorthand halfway between two numbers, we take the smaller of the two numbers, and then we put 30 minutes afterwards, or half past, half an hour past. So if you're writing between 4 and 5, you're going to take that small number 4, half past is 4:30. Okay, so your guys' job is going to be to do 5 and 6 on this page. And I also want you to flip the page onto page 172, and there's a whole back page full of some review that you guys can work on. Okay, so that's going to be your homework for this particular lesson. Make sure that you're working on MobyMax, and tomorrow at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. I hope to see you guys on Zoom. Okay, have a good day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.